as a warrior, would I carry 3 weapons? Now, as you can see before you, as I turn about, you can see that I'm clearly carrying 3 weapons. I have my trusty Seaxes here. This is my eating knife, but I could use it in warfare if needed. I have my longer Seaxes. This is my fighting knife, and I also have a axe. So why would I carry 3 weapons as a warrior? And am I carrying one too many Seaxes? So let's put my axe away and talk about this fascinating subject, which came about from reading a comment the other day. And someone was saying, well, you're carrying too many knives. Why do you carry 2 knives? And very occasionally, I may have 3. That's sometimes when I'm filming, I forget to take a knife out. But in general terms, if I was at a reenactment displaying and portraying Anglo-Saxons or Norse warriors, why would I have 2 knives? Well, first of all, this is my favourite knife. My number 1 knife I own. I love this knife to bits. And I do use it to eat my dinner. It is great for cutting cheese and meat and bread. And I can pick the meat and I can pick it up from my table and then put it into my mouth with my hand. So it is a great little knife for eating with and for cutting your meat and your cheese. And I love cheese and a good bit of bread. That's a real meal to me on camp. And if I got a little bit of bacon or venison on beef or a bit of sausage or some sort, maybe boar, then that's a bonus. And of course, as a reenactor, I am carrying a combat knife because this one here is sharp. It is sharp on purpose. It is an eating knife, but I would not carry this into battle. I would take it off before the battle commences. So this one here is a blunt combat knife, designed so I can hit somebody. This is why, when you often see the knives I carry, why they don't have a point. Let's compare the two. So as you can see, this one has a point. That could do a lot of damage. This one is blunt and rounded. It is there so that when I hit somebody, it's not going to hurt them. For instance, if I got my 2 knives mixed up, let's say they was both of the same design and similar, but one was sharp and one was blunt, and I got the sharp one mixed up with the blunt one, well, that sharp knife could really hurt somebody. It could go through your leather jerkin and through your clothes. The last thing you want is to go to hospital and A&E. So our blades, and most of the blades and knives and weapons I own, are blunt on purpose. They're props. Because we like to keep our limbs intact. I don't want to go to battle and get hurt. So that is one reason. But it also demonstrates, if I was living in, let's say, the early 8th century or the 9th century, would I be carrying 2 knives? Yes, if I had the coin. So for instance, this knife could be an heirloom. This could have been my father's knife and passed down, which is one of the reasons why I'd carry it. And it's in a different sort of a hanging position. Rather than going across the bolt, it hangs down. And I love that effect and the look and the feel. And again, this is for combat. But I've also got a sidearm, because if, for instance, I was going to battle and I didn't want to use my knife, I wanted something with a little bit more reach so that I could pull the shield down and get behind the shield, or sidestep and pull the shield down. I can do that because this is a really good axe for getting behind the shield. It's very effective, and I've never used this so far in combat because I've only owned it for a few months, but you can demonstrate already how great it is at pulling back shield. And I will demonstrate this with Halfdan on camera, and we'll demonstrate why the bearded axe and why we have this sort of axe in the medieval times, because they're so useful for shield pulling. Just so easy, look. So I'm in battle, I'm fighting. My shield is also a weapon because I can bash you in the head with my boss. I can also charge at you, put my shield up and ram that into your neck and your chest. having one of these ram into your chest or your neck, it's not going to cut you, but it's going to wind you. It's going to do enough damage where I can come down with my axe and take you out. It is so efficient for that purpose. And I think it's very luxury that I carry such weapons. But what sort of a class of warrior do I portray? Well, I would be a lower class middle warrior because I don't have a lance axe. I can only afford a small knife, and I can only afford, because my knife was on the floor, very naughty, I can only afford to have a combat knife, or in this case, I've got a sharp one, but back in the day this would have been sharp. And I think like this scabbard and sheath for it, it's this sheath. At some point I'm going to have to make a new one, because I just don't like it, it's too flimsy, but that's another story for another day. So, if you have the coin, you could carry 2 knives. Now, would carrying 3 knives be excessive? Yes, it would be. Because if you got 3 knives, you're going to give one of your other knives to one of your fellow troops next to you who may not have a knife. Because even in combat, in the shield wall, when you're stabbing over, that's got some reach. And I can also slash when I'm in the shield wall, and also stab from underneath at the legs and the knees, or go behind the legs and cut the leg there. That will cripple you. You'll be on the ground, and then I'll be stamping on you, on your head, and taking you out of the battle. Because really, every limb is a weapon. And if you see an enemy on the floor, well, you're going to kick him, you're going to stamp him at the same time as carrying on fighting. And you can see why after a few hours of fighting you'll be knackered. I get knackered after 5 minutes. So it does demonstrate that A, fundamentally I'm unfit, but also B, that the men of those times, the warriors, were very tough. Because they was working the field every day. I just need to go to the shop down the road, that's my shopping done. But in the medieval times, most people were farming because you had to grow your food, you had to grow your corn to get your bread, and your beans and sprouts and all your other vegetables which were around back in the day, and your fruits were also important as well, your apples and your pears. Apples and pears were not so big as today. So, to a certain degree, it's probably a slight reenactorism to carry 2 knives. But at the same time, if I'm going into a battle reenactment, I won't take this one. I will take it out and leave it in my tent. But I wouldn't want it to fall out and hurt anybody, and that can very easily happen. So I hope that that little chat has answered that question of why I am carrying 3 weapons. And that's enough. If I had a bonus weapon, it would be the spear, which I would use before the shield wall clash. As soon as the shield wall get too close, well, I've got to go to my sidearm and then attack with that. And I would probably always go for my axe because I've got the reach. With a sax, you can't really drag the shield down easily. Yes, you can get behind it and pull it, but you're not going to get the same effect as an axe. And another thing I can do is that I can put my knife here in my hand if I hold it on the handle, so it's always ready for me. So I'm fighting and my axe gets chucked at my hand, I'm very quickly there with my sax. That there could save your life, because the last thing you want is you lose your axe for whatever reason, and I'm there struggling to get my sax, my knife out of my sheath. That could cost you life. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and that it's answered that question. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment.